Good evening, Fit and Well. I'm back for the final part of the strength series. And this one again is totally different. So we've done a workout with Marv. We've had a chat all about protein with Biosynergy. We did a wicked workout with Angibel PT last week. And this is a final chat and it's all about mental strength. Can't lie, feeling a little bit nervous about this one. My G&T is topped up because we're about to be I say myself and a lovely Natalie becoming Shira is about to become very vulnerable and share with been through in our lives so far, in the hope that we can help you guys if you are struggling. Loads of you jumping on. Here comes the lovely Natalie. Well done, Nat. She's done.
You're right, gorgeous. I managed to get in without too much fuss this time. I just pressed the button.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So everybody that's just looping through at the moment, loads jumping on. This is the lovely Natalie, aka Becoming Shira. And lots of you that saw my post earlier on today with the incredible body transformation and everybody going, what? What is this girl like? This is amazing. This is the lady in the flesh, and she's not even in the UK. She's in Spain as well. So look at that. We've gone international. I love that. I totally love it. So we'll just wait for a couple of seconds. Everybody's sending loads of messages. Thank you so much for if you're joining on the live. I hope it's a good time for you all. The kids are settled, and the purpose of tonight's chat, as I said earlier on, is, you know, we're not psychologists. Let's make that very clear. We're not doctors. But between the two of us, we've had quite a few life experiences that I honestly believe that by sharing those will help and hopefully reignite a little spark in other people to think, if they are low, feeling down for whatever reason, if you can find the strength through exercise and through eating better, I can honestly say to you that you hopefully will feel a hell of a lot better for the rest of your life. So that's the purpose of today. We're not in Lycra. Ta-da! Nat's all glammed up.
No, I whipped the messy bun out.
I know. I feel, well, that'll be the next one. We'll do a workout for the next one, hun. So let's start at the beginning. So Natalie and I haven't ever actually physically met. We are Insta buddies, and there was this instant kind of connection when we started following each other. It's quite bizarre when this thing happens across the wonderful world of the gram. But the thing that I quickly realized is how motivational you are, Natalie, and the more that I saw your story and what you'd actually been through, because we'll talk about the body transformation, but I had no idea for quite some time where your journey began. I just started following, thinking, oh my God, this girl is so much fun. She's got so much energy. Look at how flipping strong she is. Oh my God, she can lift this, she can do that. And it wasn't until recently that I discovered your body transformation. So kind of, do you want to tell everybody how much have you lost in total in your journey?
Yeah, before I do that, I just got to mirror what you say, because of this connection on Instagram, and I think social media is fantastic with this, because your energy just jumps through the Instagram feed. And I think very much like when I see anything that you put out, I feel that from you as well, and I can imagine that everybody that follows you does as well. So I think that's why we get on, because I see things from you, and especially with everything we've been through, and it picks your energy back up. And so some of the energy you would have seen from me is coming directly from what I've picked up from you as well. So you've been a big source of inspiration to me, putting a smile on, and, you know, keeping it going as well. So straight back at you with that. When it comes to, sorry, my
that's all right,
Instagram and my internet just clicked off there. When it comes to my transformation, obviously there's loads that we can go back into, and some things that I think are most important to go on is it's not just about the physical transformation. That's what we see, isn't it? Everybody looks at this transformation and they say to me, you know, oh my God, how much have you lost? And
yeah,
and it isn't about what I've lost. It's really about what I've gained through that transformation. And I think that's the key thing when you go on any kind of journey. If you're looking to lose weight or to get stronger or to improve your health physically or mentally, it's about looking at what you're going to gain from that journey, and looking at it as a process of adding value, because that's what you're going to do, is going to make that process a lot easier. So for me, that's what the transformation has really been about. It's been about what I've gained from a mental health point of view, because it's a big difference from where I was in my early 20s, and a physically strong point of view, a nutritionally healthy point of view. And I think we mentioned earlier as well with my thyroid, how my journey has affected my understanding of my thyroid as well. So there's lots of things to
absolutely. And I think, you know, that is so key. Is, you know, I threw the question, how much have you lost? Because I knew your response would be like, yeah, I have lost shed loads. However, what I've now learned and gained through my journey has given you much more than just the physical fact that you are now from here to here. But I think there's loads of questions about the thyroid. And I know that when we had a chat earlier on in the week, I found it fascinating to know that you were misdiagnosed with, in lots of situations, you were overweight, you were underactive, as in you weren't sort of physically active, and you were going to the doctors and you were feeling low and sad. And guess what? What do they prescribe you when you were going, say,
antidepressants? I was on antidepressants, and I was actually under counsel with a psychiatrist, because I was at an incredibly low point. I was in a stage where, and I know we're bearing all here, so I attempted suicide at a very young age, where I was so incredibly low but couldn't really pinpoint what it was. It was just how I felt. And when I went to the doctors, the first thing that they did was to prescribe antidepressants. But it was when I reviewed or reflected on my life, I couldn't pinpoint what it was I was depressed about. So it was only because I persisted and persisted and persisted with the doctors that they took a blood test, which then later was shown that my thyroid was incredibly underactive. And the statistics show at the moment that 60% of people with an underactive thyroid don't know that they have. They're undiagnosed, and the symptoms for having an underactive thyroid are very similar to depression. It's a very dark and depressive feeling, because your metabolism isn't working properly, your hormones aren't working properly or in alignment, so you feel all of this negative effect of that, and it mimics a very dark feeling of depression. And if my thyroid isn't working properly at any time, it can go through peaks and troughs of it. Even now, I can still feel it now. If it's going through anything, like in any kind of hormonal stress, I'm not getting sufficient sleep, it can affect me. It's all of those things. So it's very easy to want to put a plaster over a feeling, or to take the first answer, or to take a pill, and to think that that's going to resolve it. But that was just the start of resolving the symptoms. By understanding what was going wrong, I could then work on building myself back up. Because if you're depressed and you take an antidepressant, it's only going to put a mask over that issue. It's not going to resolve that issue for you. That the issues are still going to fundamentally be there. And the same with the thyroid. Anything else that you're feeling outside of that, you then need to work at all of those contributing factors to get yourself into a better position mentally and physically to improve how you feel.
And so when they finally, or you finally discovered that actually the weight gain and what you thought was depression was all to do with your underactive thyroid, once you were on the right medication for that, and did you then suddenly find that actually it developed quite quickly, your weight loss journey? I mean, obviously you can't I'm just trying to kind of figure out to say, okay, you worked out what it was you actually had. So from taking the medication and controlling your thyroid, did you see a significant change quite quickly?
No, I didn't.
Right.
It didn't. It wasn't like an overnight flip of a switch at all. And to be quite honest, Emma, I didn't have a clue about anything that I'm discussing now. I was absolutely clueless to all of this, and there was no information out there. No one was giving information. The internet wasn't what it was like today. The doctors didn't give out any information. It was like, okay, so you don't need to take antidepressants anymore, which I just stopped taking overnight, which was quite a drastic effect. And now I'm taking thyroxine, and here's a certificate for you, so you never have to pay for your medication again, because that, you know, it was kind of, this was it, but no help, no explanation, no advice. So if anybody is suffering with depression or depression-like symptoms, or thyroid, and they feel that they don't have the information that they need, then reach out. You know, reach out and seek it, because it's not readily available. It's a bit of taboo.
It is a taboo, and I think, you know, I'm not going to jump on the whole perimenopausal, you know, all that kind of stuff bandwagon. There's a lot of people that are experts about that and doing a lot of chat on that. But I do know for things like, you know, many of my clients that join me at boot camp or whatever it was, I would say a significant proportion of those, maybe even as much as 40% of the women that join me have joined me and they're already on antidepressants by the age of 40 years old. And bearing in mind my kind of clientele, a lot of people are coming to me because they're feeling sluggish, they're feeling low, they used to exercise when they were younger, they've now gotten into a routine where their kids are older and want to develop this whole thing. And, you know, honest to God, after probably, I would say about, you know, 4 to 6 weeks of regular exercise, these women are coming back to me and saying, Em, you won't believe it, I'm now reducing my antidepressants, and the doctor reckons I'm going to be off it in, like, you know, 6 weeks time, because we know with antidepressants that you can't do what you just did when you were young and naive and just stop them straight away. You have to go through kind of a guided situation. And it's so difficult, because very similar now with all the perimenopausal stuff that's out there, it's becoming to be spoken about, and all these women that have been again diagnosed with depression, and actually it's menopause. I'm quite frank, as you know, and quite real with situations. I'm the same as you. You can't just put a plaster on it. You know, the menopause is the menopause. If you've got an underactive thyroid, you've got an underactive thyroid. The key from my perspective is then saying, okay, I now know what it is. What am I going to do about it? You've got to live with it a little bit, because it's not going to go away.
No.
You know, and I think where a lot of people struggle is they think that they've got a statement for something. They then think, oh yeah, I can't do that because I'm menopausal, or I can't do that because I'm this. And I try to coach my guys to say, yeah, I get that, but we have to find a way through.
Yeah.
And one of the things is definitely, you know, about weight gain in situations, and, you know, lots of my women who are right in the middle of the menopause now, and, you know, are struggling when they see other women that have lost weight and they're struggling. And I have to say but what if you weren't eating healthy and you're in full-blown menopause, where would you be? And they go, oh shit, didn't think about that. I said, I know you haven't lost it, but you haven't put it on. You've maintained, you're exercising, you're doing, you know, you're looking a lot better at 50 years old. You're looking a lot better than you would be if you weren't exercising and you were eating crap. And mentally, you are a lot better. And I think acceptance is key in so many situations.
This really is. And I think this is kind of acceptance and identity, isn't it?
Yeah.
In this part. And it's somewhat like this. So, and you picked on this, like hiding behind the excuses of some things. So one of the things with then knowing that I had this underactive thyroid, and understanding that if you've got an underactive thyroid, you're going to gain weight, or it's harder to lose weight. I then assumed an identity for myself of, well, I am overweight because I have an underactive thyroid, and that's the way that it is.
Yeah.
And it's and then kind of almost like using that as an excuse
That's your boundary.
To not make the changes that I need. And yes, there are the struggles with it as well, but it's not an excuse to be able to continue to live the lifestyle that I actually was, because the lifestyle I was living was one of complete excess. You know, I was sedentary lifestyle, working very long hours in a highly stressful corporate role, not moving, drinking excessively, eating excessively. So I'm not talking about just having a drink or just having a bit of what I fancied. It was everything to excess. And then the consequence of that was, I'm going to blame my thyroid. So we sometimes use these things to hide behind them as well. Whereas if we acknowledge them as an obstacle, and then work with them with a real expectation of what we can do to work around that obstacle, or how to overcome it, then we're a bit more empowered, aren't we?
Oh, massively. And I think, you know, you can take that to any situation, from stress, anxiety. You know, everybody talks about mental health now, and, you know, anxiety and stress, or I've got anxiety. And, you know, I have to look at situations, and I think there is a definite issue with proper diagnosed mental health issues, and people that have got, you know, very, very, you know, they've been through a course and they are mentally unstable. I struggle when someone says to me, oh, I'm having real mental health issues at the moment, because sometimes it's just about having a bad day and not accepting what's happening. And, you know, and I'm a bit like Marmite, where people go, Em, you can't bloody say that. And I'll be like, but until you've been honest and been open about, you know, I've got some women training with me at the moment that they're in full-blown cancer treatment. I've got 2 women that have come out of their cancer treatment and in their rehab. I've got single mums. I've got people that have been, you know, going through divorces. You know, there are key, but they are kind of life experiences that happen, and shit happens. And all those people have made an effort to try and get themselves into a better place and not hide behind that excuse. And then I'll have the other ones, which I'm sure you'll have as well, who will give me every excuse. Oh, I can't come to boot camp today because I'm feeling a bit anxious. You know, and I think, I haven't had a great day yesterday, so I'm going to give myself a rest. And, you know, if I'm being brutally honest, I struggle with those kind of excuses, because I know that if they do come and they do exercise and they get some fresh air and they sweat it out a little bit and they push themselves through and suddenly go, oh my God, I was feeling like shit, but now I feel amazing. I want to kind of capture that and endorphins to say, I promise you that if you can accept I'm having a bad day, but once I'm there, I know that at the end of it, I'm going to feel so much better. And that is what I see. You know, my girl that's coming and training with me at the moment, she was in chemo on Monday and training at boot camp with me on Wednesday. Now, don't get me wrong, she's not lifting a heavy weight and she's not running around the field, and but she's there. And she said, oh my God, I feel so much better now. You know, I was sat at home, I dropped the kids off at school, I was feeling low. It was whirring around in my head what I was going to do today. And now I know I'm fine. I'm good.
Well, I think this is another thing as well, Emma. I don't know what your thoughts are in this, but, you know, it's that identity thing, isn't it? As individuals, and the way that our lives are, we have so many different identities, and some of which we probably don't want, some of which we want to be a little bit more of, but it can become really confusing. So when you've got your woman that's like, oh, I've had a stressful day, and so I'm not going to come to boot camp. You and I know, if you could bottle up the endorphins and sell that shit, would be millionaires. So coming and getting that workout in, we know that is going to absolutely boost your day. You're going to be surrounded by other people who are also feeling good, and it's going to put a spring back in your step. But if you're consumed with that, oh, I've had a stressful day at work, I've got earache from the kids, my house is a mess, your identity falls somewhat into that realm, doesn't it, of being that person that has to deal with all of that shit. Whereas actually dealing with all of that would be so much easier if you'd topped your own cup back up.
Absolutely.
So we're walking around emptying ourselves out all over the place.
Yeah.
And we need to actually just be who we are and give back to ourselves, move for us, go and do things for ourselves in order to be able to deal with all of these other things. Otherwise, it's chaos going on in the mind, isn't it?
It is. And I just think, and we're all living in a, very crazy world. Okay, we're not in major lockdown anymore, but everybody's gone through some exceptional experiences over the lockdown situation, the COVID, be it work, be it getting COVID, being, losing somebody through it. And I think for the first time, there's a lot of people that hopefully had to learn to accept that I can't be out at work all day. I've got to be at home. I've got to look this. I've got to do this. And I really hope that lots of people then found this extra kind of need to know and this extra release, and found that 30 minutes a day to try and realize that actually they are important. And I think the really tough bit is as women, we're always judged, and we're always, we're trying to be the best mum, we're trying to be the best wife, we're trying to be the best daughter, the best friend, run a business. We're all kind of, we're putting ourselves out there to be these superheroes. And you came up with it when we were chatting earlier on in the week when we were walking, and I said, yeah, but we're not super women. And you said, but maybe we are, Em.
We absolutely are super women. We are, I think, again, when we're emptying our cup for everyone else, with a sidekick to everything else. And I can say, as growing up, I was the fat best friend.
Yeah.
I was the fat big sister.
Yeah.
I was the sidekick and I put myself as a sidekick in my life. And it wasn't until I had that conversation with my friend, and it's all jokes aside, but, this is human. My Instagram feed is becoming She-Ra.
Yeah.
She-Ra is He-Man's sister. Holds a sword up, by the
woman, absolutely.
And I said to my friend when I was looking at embarking on the journey of shrink, why do you want to do that? I want muscles. Why do you want muscles? I want muscles like She-Ra. I laugh and joke. Yeah. She got me a t-shirt. We had a bit of a humour over that. But what did I do? Unbeknown to me, I actually assumed this identity of She-Ra, didn't I? So I've kind of been right in my mind's eye, the back of my mind, without even being aware of it. I've changed my Instagram tag to becoming She-Ra, and it was all a joke at first. I've called my mountain bike Swiftwind. We all take the piss out of it, but somehow along the way, I've ended up with blonde hair, muscles, and I just need a pair of gold boots, and I'm set.
You are all set, and you need tiger.
It's not something that's exclusive to me. We're all the number one person in our own life story, in our own journey, and we have to assume that superhero role to ourselves, not for anyone else,
and I think
for ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think your part there is, we struggle. I used to struggle thinking that I was selfish, that I was wanting to go to the gym and I needed to train. And, admittedly, when you're younger, you're exercising because for vanity. Most people, when you're in your youth, you are exercising for vanity. I grew up in a dancing world, and I was fat shamed at 13 years old by my ballet teacher, who told me I was too fat to be a ballerina because the other girls next to me were like sticks. And that resonates in my head massively. And then promptly gave up ballet. I know, but it still happens. It's not as bad now. And then I went into another environment of dance and kind of show work. And then I was in this awful competitive environment with women, with girls that had big boobs. I've never had boobs. They had smaller waists. I was told that I was too fat to wear the costume for that number, so I wouldn't make it into that dance. Nothing to do with what I could do, and I might have been the strongest dancer, but the costume wouldn't have worked on me. I wasn't the right height. Rejection just coming. I used to go and audition for so many shows, and I wasn't the right shape, the right colour, all this kind of stuff. And back then, it was horrendous. I only can look back on it now and think, oh my God, how did I cope with that? And the way that I did cope with it was like, I'd be like, right, sod you, I'm going to get this fit or I'm going to do that. But, and then also what happened was that's when my kind of eating got out of control and my obsession with training. And I'm talking about kind of early teens, I suppose, really, because you then are so desperate to be accepted in the role that you want to be in. You're prepared to do anything to do that. And so, you know, you overtrain, you don't eat, you then binge. You know, I wasn't anorexic because I was so hungry the whole time. I could never have not eaten. But, you know, it was my body dysmorphia, I think, set in then, because every time I looked in the mirror, I saw someone that was bigger than I actually was. And bearing in mind, at 17, 18 years old, hun, I was 7.5 stone at 17, 18 years old. And I remember that distinctly because I remember having to get weighed in for something and the size of my waist was like a 24 waist. And I honestly thought in the mirror that I was too big. And you just think, flipping heck, you know, and it's tough because those childhood situations do sit with you. And I'm now really conscious with my daughter at 12 years old to ensure that, she loves dancing and she's naturally slim and little and all this kind of stuff. But I always use the word strong with her the whole time, right? You need more protein, babe, because you want muscles. You need to be strong. Can you do a press up yet? Come on, let's do this. You know, that's my way to keep her not thinking about size.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we
living daylights.
As we were growing up, and some of those things that you've said there, I was put into dancing, and I was like the fat one in the class.
You were the elephant,
you know. And really, when I look at the photos now, I wasn't, but I was put on a sponsored diet. Yeah. When I was 9 years old, because my name was Natalie, and I was called Fatty Natty, and my mum didn't want me to go to secondary school. She put me on a diet. So I can really understand that from a young age. And I think growing up, when we were younger, there was a lot of, you know, I'm not shaming Kate Moss, but there was a lot of this, you know, smoke, don't eat kind of diet.
Oh yeah, the fag and coffee diet.
Yeah, you know, and I had friends that, I used to put their fingers down the throat and binge on chocolate and crisps and do this to try and idolize this lifestyle. And we could pick up and put down those magazines, but our kids now, they can't. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on TikTok, and whatever other social media platform that we use. So it's so important that we really do encourage them to work on their mental health, to have a good, strong mind, and to work on fueling their health as well. And because otherwise, it's like them sending them into the lion's den.
Oh, massively. And I mean, I think your point about fueling, you know, I desperately always use with all my guys that most of them again are on a weight loss journey, but you know, I'm talking about, you need to learn how to fuel your body. You know, and there isn't any quick tips. You know, you could drink shakes for 3 weeks and yes, you might lose half a stone, but guess what? As soon as you put anything normal back in your body, you're going to put that straight back on. You haven't learned a lesson. And you know, and that's what I'm really passionate about with anybody that kind of works with me. And I know you're the same. You know, it's not about you can't have no carbs till marbs. You know, it's all that kind of stuff. But it is sharing and teaching, and it's not a quick fix. And I think this is the hardest thing. You know, you were on a journey for 6 years to get to where you are now. But the first step is asking for the help and understanding the question. There's so much information out there now about what you can do, which is amazing.
Do you think that there's somewhat, though, information overwhelm?
Oh, massively. It's all a bit like, so you've got keto. Yeah, you've got, should I be on a keto diet? Should I be
intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
What about this bullshit?
Yeah.
Sorry, what about this? It's an absolute minefield for people out there. And what they want is to see results. And they're being told, you can lose 7 pounds in 7 days. And so they think that's what they should be losing. Where actually, if you lost 7 pounds in 7 days, there's something fundamentally going wrong.
Well, unless
you don't want to lose that much weight. You're losing more than your body can sustain. It's not good for you to lose that much weight. You need to make sure that you're maintaining your health. And this is what leads to this increase in thyroid problems, a constant yo-yo of fad diets, and people not fueling themselves, their body's not getting enough nutrients, enough goodness in, their bodies can't sustain basic normal activity. So it starts to impact on the hormones, and we're seeing that women are experiencing a lot more severe hormonal symptoms and issues with the menopause and with their thyroid, because their bodies are messed up from all of this crash dieting. And not only that, all of this depleted nutrients, it's not only affecting their bodies and their basic health, it's also affecting their mental wellness. You need good nutrition to be able to think clearly and to just be able to sustain a basic thought process. And if you're not eating for your mind or for your body, you're going to feel unwell. And when you feel unwell, it doesn't matter what the number on the scales is, it's not going to change how you're feeling or being affected by the lack of goodness in your body.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I had quite a scary experience. So I qualified as my fitness coach. I was starting my boot camp. I was still working full-time or part-time in a sort of quite corporate, male-dominated situation where I was told I was, my manager, I'd been there 13, 14 years. And I was thinking about going back to that full time or picking up my boot camp or whatever. And I got told by the boss there, you've reached your peak here as a woman. You're not going to get any further because it's a very Korean industry and all this kind of stuff. And I remember at that point, that was my trigger to think, oh my God, what am I doing? That kind of really devalued, we love you, we think you're great, you've been with us for 14 years, but you're kind of at that level now and that's all you'll be at. And at that moment, I then took this whole extreme thing about, right, sod it, I'm going to push everything about being the best fitness coach and all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't in the best shape because I was just your classic, always loved exercise, being a dancer, knew that I got qualified, loved it. So I then started the whole kind of keto diet because that was what was out at the moment. And it was all about, a lot of protein, no sugar at all. So a total no sugar diet. And I was on this process for about, I don't know, maybe sort of 3-4 weeks. And at week 4, I collapsed at work and I lost all the vision in my eyes and had all these blurred kind of like spots coming through my eyes. And as I came round, then get into A&E and rushed into A&E, and they think that I've had a stroke or Bell's palsy. I then get transferred to the neurologist at our other hospital, see him, and he's going, I've had head scans, I've had everything done. And he's like, there's nothing wrong. He said, and my husband was with me, and he's like, talk to me about what she's doing. He said, she's been really exercising loads, but she's also just been on this new like ketosis diet. And he went, oh my God, has she had any sugar? And he was like, well, no, she's on this whole no sugar extreme, stripping everything back. He went, her brain needs sugar to function. He's like, what she's done is she's set her whole body into this overdrive. The only thing that your brain needs to function is natural sugars. And I'm not talking about eating cakes and stuff, but I'd literally stripped.
What's wrong with cake?
We love cake. We love cake. But that's literally, and I learned such a massive lesson from this neurologist who then talked me through the whole of my body and said what was happening, and my kidneys were then going into overdrive and my liver was struggling to process this. And I just was like, oh my God, I honestly thought that was it. My time had come because...
And this was because you wanted to...
I wanted to be the fittest, the strongest. I needed to lose a few pounds. I'd done all my research. And actually, what I was doing wasn't bad because it's how I kind of eat today, but it was extreme, whereas it was, right, cut all the sugar out straight away. Like even my fruit, it was saying you can't have any of the fruit, you can't do this.
I did this with the Dukan diet. I totally relate with what you're saying there, and it's mad. You're telling this story, and like, you know, we've had this connection through Instagram and stuff, and I think very much like attracts likes. We do connect, and exactly what you're saying there. So I followed this Dukan diet, which was
so
crazy.
I know the Dukan. Yeah, I know the Dukan.
Crazy, another one, and literally, I just lived on chicken and asparagus.
PP days.
And I'd have a gin and tonic at the weekends, but then I would be running 10 kilometers every day and doing this chicken and asparagus, and I ended up in the hospital here. I ended up in the hospital here, where my body completely broke down from it. Just exactly what you're saying there. So this is what happens through extreme dieting. And I think if we were to ask other people if they've had times where they've just felt absolutely at rock bottom, incapable of getting up out of bed in the morning, or unable to face work, are they eating enough?
Well, do you know what's really bizarre? So the Dukan diet, I use the principle of the Dukan diet in my kind of food nutritional program when people are wanting to lose a lot of weight. So if you've got 1-2 stone to lose, then I introduce the Dukan diet, the pure protein days. But the Dukan diet talks about doing it for up to 10 days of just eating protein. I talk about 1 to 2 days a week, but also with that, you have to have 1 to 2 handfuls of berries a day to get the sugar in. So I don't disagree with the pure protein days, because actually that's really good for your digestive system. 1 to 2 days with 2 loads of berries.
I was doing this
10 days.
I maybe did it for like 18 months.
I mean, shut the front door. That is just ridiculous, you know. So how I introduce my week's diet is we go 1 to 2 days PT, then PP, pure protein. Then you'll have a protein and veg day. Then you've earned your carbs, so you put your carbs in afterwards. That's how I'm kind of teaching my guys, saying let's look at all the principles of everything we should be doing. But ultimately, at the end of their week, they've eaten every nutrient. They've done everything. Their liver's working better. Their kidneys are cleared out. They've drunk shitloads of water. And that's just through knowledge and learning. I'm not a fully qualified nutritionist. I didn't want to go down that path because I just think, well, you'll know, Nat, it's an absolute minefield, isn't it?
I mean, and this is one of the reasons that I qualified as a nutrition coach, because of doing all of the fad diets that I did. When I finally got to that point that I was able to sustain because I would lose the weight, gain the weight, lose the weight, gain the weight, and it was like I couldn't sustain the craziness of all these rules and banning foods and all of this nonsense. So when I finally found what enabled me to sustain the weight, and I've sustained, it's 40 kilos that I've lost. I weighed in at over 100 kilos after I'd had my eldest daughter was 9 months old in that photo on the rock, and I've gone on to have a second daughter, and I've now maintained that loss for 7 years. And 5 years ago I was like, right, I want to know the science. I want to know why this happens, and I've studied the mind, the body, the nutrition, behavior and habits over the last 5 years to become certified in it. So now I understand it from a scientific point of view. You know, I've got that journey and that experience myself, but I now understand what flaws I did, why I did them, why I made the changes. So it's kind of like been a study process on it. But what I constantly see is what you've mentioned there, and people being driven to this desperation. They feel like they're at a point where they've got to go so extreme with everything, and they're overwhelmed with all of the information. And so what do? They pretty much starve themselves,
or they give up.
They overtrain and starve themselves.
And also, I think that the problem is, Natalie, at the moment, you know, we live in this instant world. Everybody expects stuff straight away. Oh, I need to research that. That's going to give me that answer. And, you know, I feel as if I should have a t-shirt, mate, saying it takes 4 weeks, it takes 8 weeks, it takes 12 weeks. You know, you've got, that's literally, you know, what I think people, because people work on demand, and they honestly
it's not available on Netflix. You can't go and order your weight loss on Netflix.
There isn't a quick fix, and it's really tough, because I think, you know, sustainability, like a lot of my girls that have had awesome, you know, body transformations are now so much stronger. And I'm not just talking about weight loss. They may have lost 3 stone, you know, 2 years ago, but they've kept that 3 stone off. They've now got stronger, they've got more muscles, they can do everything. And that to me is a success of somebody. Yet I have got the others that lost a bit, put a bit, lost a bit, put a bit. And they're the ones that I'm like, yeah, along with, you know, thinking, why? And that's the mental switch. And it's, you know, that's the reason why I wanted to talk to you today, because I just think, you know, the mental switch of not having the excuse, not hiding behind the stigma, you know, understanding that you are strong enough to do something. You know, I touched on when we spoke, you know, my mum was diagnosed with a brain tumor in March 2018. And it was terminal at that stage. But I remember like some really key points in that situation, like the doctor that diagnosed her, when my mum and dad asked, well, how long have we got? And they said, oh, anywhere between 1 and 7 years. So in my mum's head, she locked on 7 years, and my dad locked on 7 years. And the neurologist and everybody that we were going through were like, yeah, just keep going, battle through. She had the operation, 42 stitches in her head, the mass tumor taken out, you know, 6 weeks chemo, 6 weeks radio, 6 weeks chemo, 6 weeks radio. And my friend was a radiographer, bizarrely, brain radiographer as well. And she looked at all my mum's scans, and we were doing all the treatment. And she was like, don't underestimate the power of positivity. She said, even us brain surgeons and brain neurologist people don't know how to measure that. And, you know, unfortunately, she didn't make a year. She made 11 months in the end. Oh, sorry. But the one thing that was really incredible, she was never scared, and she didn't give up, and she fought through. And her mental positivity, that's what they reckon got her through that stage. And also I trained throughout all of that. And all my clients are going, oh, you can't come to boot camp. Don't worry about it. Stay with your mum. And I was like, oh my God, that hour that I got to exercise was the most positive hour of my day. And I honestly believe that if I hadn't have exercised and eaten better and all that kind of stuff, I would have been in some
exactly what you're saying there. I want to give you a big hug.
But that is, you know, that's a scientific fact of saying it is, you know, and it's a trauma situation, to know that actually, you know, you have to push through. You've got to accept what's happening. She had no idea. Me and my dad are absolutely convinced that up until the day she went, and she did have an amazing journey, and we gave her the best death possible, because I think that is something that people don't talk about. And when you have to accept that someone's going, a very good friend of mine used to work in palliative care, and she just said to me, you just got to give her the best death possible. And those things help you through, because you're accepting what's going to happen. So rather than shying away from, I'm not going to deal with this, I'm going to bury my head, I honestly feel that us as a family coped so much better. And even my dad, you know, obviously we're 2 years on, and we're massively grieving my mum. And now it's a different journey I'm on, as I live this guilt of my dad's by himself now. So that's really tough. But he exercises daily, you know, and he's 73, but he knows if he doesn't exercise.
Do you think as well, though, some of the things that have helped you there is when you went back to, we started off this conversation, and you were saying about how people can kind of throw the excuse if they've had a bad day, it's been shit day at work or whatever it might be, and then they don't come. By continuing on boot camp and by releasing those endorphins, in turn, you were able to fill yourself up with who you are and that positive focus. which helped you to then deal with everything else that was going on.
Absolutely.
Just like you're saying to the women, you want to get them in, even if you've had a bad day, just show up. If that's all you do, if you just show up, you see everyone, you don't want to do the class, it's fine, whatever, but just by showing up, maybe you're just going to do a little bit of the effort, you're still going to feel better just by coming, aren't you? It's just, you're stepping away from that negative scenario, you're stepping away from the problems, you're stepping towards something that's for you, that's going to give you something back, that's going to make you feel better and help you to be able to deal with everything else that's going on.
And I think that is absolutely what we're trying to do here, is to say, you know, there are lots of people that have significant life issues, traumas, body negativity, they're in negative controlling situations, you know, single mums. I've been a single mum, I know how tough life is, and when you've got loons like me and you bobbing around on an Instagram scheme giving it woohoo, you know, there's going to be loads of people that are really pissed off with people like you and me because they think, oh, go and do one. Well, my message to that is, don't follow us if you don't like that kind of energy.
I
also
think
try and vibe off it.
There is stuff like that again, and I think this very much goes back to identity. It's how we want to see ourselves and how we see other people in ourselves, or how we see something that we want in other people. And the reality is that we are all capable of feeling and being exactly what it is that we really want. We are. At 21 years old, when I was in a psychiatric ward having attempted suicide, I was living in a council flat in Birmingham. And I've changed those things around, and it's a case of making one step at a time to make a difference, to give yourself something back, not to be less of something. It's to get something back in your day, just looking at what you can do in your day to make yourself feel good. And if watching my Instagram doesn't make you feel good, then don't watch it. If it does, watch it. Tune into things that are going to inspire you. Look out for things that are going to give you a little elbow in the direction that you want to be. And things like, you know, I tell you what though, I don't know anyone who couldn't turn into your Instagram and be inspired to want to try and get their workout on with you.
I think, but you know, it's not even just that. I think it's in your own friendship circles. You know, I've had quite a lot of negativity against me from a friend's perspective since kind of coming onto the ground. I've lost loads of people that I thought were friends during the COVID situation. I think, you know, most of women that I talk to, they've had a bit of a culling going on, and you realise who has your back, who hasn't got your back.
What do you think that's from? What
I don't know. I honestly, my hand on my heart, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm happily to ask people, you know, God, I haven't heard from you for ages. Have I done something wrong? You know, or, you know, when you're messaging out to people and you never get a message back. And I'm talking about friends that I've been really good friends with for maybe 5-6 years. I just haven't heard from them since March. And you're kind of going, yeah, I know that they're out there and they're cracking on with their lives, and they used to train with me 4 times a week and now they're training with somebody else. You know, there is, but I think the problem is we all worry or overthink or over worry situations. And the one thing that I've had to learn to do is actually, if you're giving so much to people and you never get anything back, and I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about time, I'm talking about effort. And you have to realize sometimes that a lot of people, this sounds really conceited, and I don't mean it to be conceited. A lot of people look at me as, oh, Boot Camp M, and I'm known locally. And, you know, you go to the shops, oh, it's Boot Camp M, that's Emoji, that's this, that, and the other. And they all think that I'm out and about doing loads of really exciting things. And they just take. And now I think what's happening is people don't see me as a person as well.
Do they take though, Em, or do you give too much?
That's the issue. I give so much that I've suddenly exposed myself over the last 7 years to be like this giver. And I do give loads. But even to the extent that, you know, I have one of my ladies is just incredible. She's she's helped me so much through my journey as much as I've helped her. She is the eldest lady that comes to my boot camp at late 60s years old, and she is the only one that helps me tidy up after a boot camp session. All the other women come in, it's all set up, and when it's finished they all go, and it's me and Madame Bank at the end, locking up, tidying up, shutting the doors.
Would you like with that?
Yeah.
Is that because you leave them to be thinking, I'll do it, because you're M?
Yeah, that's it.
Don't you worry. I'll do it for you, because you've got that mothering kind of nature as well.
Don't worry, it's fine. Don't worry, it's fine. You know, I am like that, and I think that is the problem, isn't it? We've kind of portrayed this whole, oh, it's fine, I can sort it, I can do it. And, you know, this chat isn't about saying, you know, going back to that superhero. We are all our own superheroes. But the problem is we sometimes do have bad days ourselves. But when we're portraying, and our jobs is to be positive and energetic and vibey with everybody, you and I can put the facade on. You know, we might have had the biggest row 2 seconds ago. We press live and go, hi! You know,
there is so much, and one of the things that I learned this year, and I think this will resonate with you, is boundaries.
Yeah,
is boundaries. And I get the whole boot camp now in my village. Here I was every time I walk through the village. You know, I totally understand that as well. And I think on the other flip of the coin, one of the things that I think is across the board that has changed in the world is boundaries. So whereas before we would be able to shut our front door, jump in the car, go to work, leave the mess as it was in the house, switch off, you change your hat, you're no longer mum in the house, you're now career hat, I am working as an office administrator, salesperson, whatever it is, you're now wearing this different hat, you assume that identity, there's your boundaries with that identity, that's what you then go and do. And then you leave work, you take that hat off, and then what do you do? Maybe you go to the supermarket or to the shop, or you go to the gym, wherever you go and have some time for you. You have that exterior time where you're then you can just be you. Then you go home, you put your mum hat back on. But what's happening now is we wake up, we are and a lot of people, this is going to be related to, are sitting at their dining room table or in the kitchen with a laptop, working. And they're eating where they work where they eat. Their mum where their wife, that career hat where there's no boundaries.
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely no boundaries. So with this, it's a case of actually having to say, I need those boundaries. Yes, I'm your boot camp coach, but also I'm Emma the mum, and I am not Emma the cleaner. So you're going to clean your own kettlebell. You know, it's kind of assuming these boundaries, isn't it? And I think we need to say that as mums in the home, or women in the home, or if we're living with other people, okay, or to our employers as well. You know, look, here's my boundaries. Yes, I may be working from home, but I'm still entitled to a lunch break, and I'm going to come away from my desk when I take that, and I'm going to finish work at 5:30 because they're the hours I am contracted to. But are we setting these boundaries? Are we actually losing more boundaries than ever, which is in a sense making it harder for us to identify with who we are and what it is we really want?
I think, do you know what, Nat? Spot on. And I hadn't really thought about it that way, but I think we're all trying to be a bit of everything. And, you know, ultimately this is about accepting what we can do and having a kind of a can-do attitude, and accepting whatever situation we're in is understanding we can only do our best, but actually we've got to try. And I think everybody's gives up quite easily. You know, we're in a very fickle kind of world where it's quite easy to switch from one thing to the other. You know, you talk about, oh no, that boot camp session didn't work for me, so I'll go to so and so down the road. Oh no, I didn't like that one, so I'm going to go to this one. You know, we have opportunities available, which we're very lucky about. But actually, sometimes I think giving yourself time and accepting a situation and sticking to it is key. And it's like we talk to kids, they've got to go to school, right? You've got to stick with it. That's how you got to do it.
Well, they do say that self-reflection is the best educator. So people need to really, maybe, they need to look at what it is that they're doing and what needs to change, where they need to lay their boundaries, where they need to be putting more effort, maybe where they're putting in too much effort and taking some of that back. And as much as we are living in this instant gratification world where everything is available to us, it's information overload. And we need to switch off from some of it and tune more into what it is that's going to take you to where you want to be. And
rather
tune
than the
off
thing.
to the stuff that that's not enriching your life. You know, it's not just food that we feed ourselves with, is it? It's conversation, it's environment, it's other people's emotions.
Exactly.
It's Netflix, it's all of these things.
And I talk about kind of having all my little Emma-isms, and the biggest one for me is about surrounding yourself with radiators, not drains. And that is so true, isn't it? Because you can be in a group situation, and if somebody, and we've all been there as we've grown up and we've had a group of friends, and there'll be that one person that's just nipping at you the whole time, and you come away from that evening and you just feel like utterly shit about yourself and all that kind of stuff. Like, why do you need negativity in your life? You have enough stressful situations in your life we have to deal with that aren't within our control. So anything that you are in control of, i.e. your food, your exercise, your time to yourself, you should choose to do what makes you feel better and feel positive.
Absolutely. You want to do things that increase your strength, your self-worth, and your ability to do things. And I think a lot of people feel that they can't. They feel that they don't have that ability, that they're lost somewhat. And I think that comes down to, for them to spend a moment and helicopter themselves, have a little look at themselves, at what could they be doing differently? What is it that they don't have to be doing? Because we feel like we do have to do everything. We really do feel like we have to do everything. But in order for, it's all well and good me saying, you don't have to do that. But then they say, well, yes, I do. But no, you don't. And the only person that can really say what it is that I do or don't have to do is myself. And in order to do that, I need to look at what it is that I'm doing. Am I doing what I want to be doing? Do I really need to be doing this? Can I push that back?
Exactly. And we can't always do what we want to do. So I don't want us to come across as some kind of like mummies that, you get to choose, this isn't about women's lib and taking our bras off and putting them on some bloody railing. This is about being honest, being open, prioritizing, and accepting your situation. We have all got tough situations in our life, no matter, and I'm not talking about monetary again or anything value, just time. Most people struggle with time, but you can prioritize. You can, people that say, I can't find 20 minutes a day to go out for a walk. And I'm thinking, take that call on that walk. I do a lot of my phone calls like with you, whilst I'm walking, thinking, maximizing, I'm out, I'm a lot clearer, I'm going to give you my attention whilst I'm on the phone. Because if I'm talking to you at home, God knows what carnage is happening behind everywhere. And the same as a workout, find a time that is going to make you, and don't feel guilty about taking half an hour, because all the other jobs are still going to be there.
This is the thing, you're better equipped to deal with those other jobs if you've given yourself something to increase your energy levels, increase your positive mental attitude or approach to it. But if you don't take that time for yourself, you're empty. It's that old saying, isn't it? You can't pour from an empty cup and all of this. But it is so cliche and true. And by learning just to say no to the things that aren't important or urgent, maybe we do need to do them, but do they need to be done right now? Like going for a walk. Maybe you are tight on time. And whilst we all have the same 24 hours in the day, when you look at it, am I doing what I have to do, I need to do, or what I want to do? Where do these things come into play? How do you categorize these? And we need to be honest with ourselves about, are we valuing our own time as well? Women are, and I don't mean to be sexist, but the woman in the house is juggling, and there's only so many plates that you can spin before those plates are going to smash on the floor. And you don't want the plates to smash. So be realistic about your expectations of yourself so you don't burn out and end up fatigued. Because this leads to the needs for antidepressants where you're feeling depressed because you're overwhelmed, you're burning out.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you know what, Nats? We've rattled on for an hour and we had half an hour slot. Hilarious. But that is brilliant. And I just hope we've covered so much. You and I could chat for days, for weeks. And I definitely think we need to do another one, and we'll kind of, you know, skimp down this was such a broad subject that we knew was going to take us on so many different avenues, and we didn't want to script it. We wanted to be real, we wanted to be honest, and I just, you know, I really hope that someone's listened and picked up on something and gone, absolutely, you know. Oh, thank you so much, Rachel, Catherine as well. You know, I just hope it's helped in some way, help somebody else find a little bit more power, find a little bit more strength, find it's okay to not be okay, but then accept it and find a way to get through it.
Absolutely. If it's sparked a little bit of an interest of actually maybe there is another way, maybe I don't have to just put up, maybe we could do another chat on how to plan your day, what to look out for, how to start building strength, how to start eating better, whatever. But hopefully if anyone's taken from this, if you're not happy, it doesn't have to be that way.
Exactly. And I know that 3 of my girlies are on there. Hayley, who's having a really tough time at the moment, and Camilla. And, you know, you girls, you just listen to what Natalie has just said as well. You hear it from me, and anyone that's got any other questions, watch this on a, you know, on a catch up. You can always message myself or Natalie if you need more information on the underactive thyroid. Nat is the expert, been there, done that, read the book, got everything. And definitely give her a follow as well, because her page is super inspiring. It's fun. And if you've enjoyed watching this, hopefully we'll come back and do something again. But most importantly, I hope it's helped. Natalie, you've been a star, and I will speak to you.
Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed the catch up.
You're very welcome, and it's just been amazing. Great. Thanks, darling.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye, Han.